The Dallas Cowboys are still in the market for help at cornerback, following Jaire Alexander's decision to sign with the Baltimore Ravens on a one-year deal worth up to $6 million, including incentives that, for once, are actually reasonable and achievable. It's not a massive contract, and reports even indicate he took slightly less to reunite with Lamar Jackson and chase a Super Bowl in Baltimore. That raises the question many Cowboys fans are asking: should Dallas have pursued him more aggressively? The answer, in my opinion, is yes. While the long-term cornerback room might be fine once everyone's healthy and develops, the short-term outlook is concerning. Sure, Darren Bland is a baller, I believe in him, but questions remain around the rest of the unit. Trevon Diggs is still working his way back from injury with no confirmed return date and relying on young or unproven players like Nahshon Wright, Israel Mukuamu, Kalen King, and Andrew Booth Jr. adds a lot of risk. Josh Butler is going to miss time, and guys like Jordan Thomas, Jay Goodwin, if he even returns, Kemon Hall, and Troy Pride just don't inspire a lot of confidence. With all due respect to their effort, it feels like one of those depth guys is inevitably going to have to play real snaps at some point this season, and that's a risky bet. Jaire Elam did have a great spring, and that's a good sign considering his flameout in Buffalo, but it's still just OTAs and minicamp. The pads haven't come on yet, and we've seen many players look strong in shorts and helmets, only to vanish when full contact begins. Savion Redwell, meanwhile, had a setback before the draft that may delay his start to camp or limit him early on. He might still be a long-term contributor, but year one will likely come with growing pains. Then there's the Diggs situation, which remains murky. The team is optimistic. He's hopeful to be back by September, but realistically, that feels optimistic. October, November, maybe even December is more plausible. And if another injury happens, well, football is violent, and injuries always do. That's why I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Cowboys wait a week or two into training camp and realize they need a steady veteran presence. And waiting might actually be the best move here, not just financially, but strategically. Many of the available corners are older vets who don't want to go through the grind of a full camp anyway. These guys are waiting for the right opportunity, just as Dallas may be waiting for the right evaluation window to open. While we're mostly focusing on free agents here, it's worth briefly touching on the one major trade name, Jalen Ramsey. In theory, he'd be an upgrade, but in reality, that $21 million salary is a deal-breaker. Unless the Dolphins suddenly decide to eat a big chunk of that contract, which makes zero sense given how much dead cap they take on this, just isn't realistic for Dallas. And frankly, Ramsey himself might not even want to be in Dallas after the infamous moment during his draft process, where he thought he was going to be a Cowboy, only for that to fall apart. So for now, we can rule out that option and pivot back to the free agent market, where a handful of intriguing names remain. One of the most interesting is Mike Hilton, who isn't a traditional shutdown corner but offers real value as a run defender and slot specialist. He played that rare role as an early down nickel back in Cincinnati, racking up absurd numbers like 84 tackles and 12 TFLs in 2022, and then again with 73 tackles and 12 TFLs last year. He's a downhill player who brings physicality and experience perfect if you want to keep Darren Bland on the outside. He's also a fit schematically if the Cowboys want a DB who can blitz or stuff the run, which would complement some of the new wrinkles under Mike Zimmer. Another very familiar name is Stephon Gilmore. Yes, he's aging and probably only has one more year left, maybe two max. But he knows this defense, played well last year, and visited the star in the offseason for what was described as a non-football meeting. Maybe, maybe not, but it shows there's at least communication still happening. Gilmore would be the definition of a steadying presence, someone you can plug in early in the season and then transition out of the lineup when the younger guys are ready. The same philosophy could apply to Russell Douglas, who played well for Buffalo after a mid-season trade from Green Bay. However, there are concerns that he might prefer a situation where he's guaranteed to start the whole year, and Dallas might only offer a short-term fill-in role. That's a tough sell for a vet with limited years left. Another big name, though not without major red flags, is Asante Samuel Jr. talented? Absolutely, but coming off neck surgery after dealing with repeated stingers in 2023 is not something to take lightly. He played just 4 games last season, and neck injuries, particularly for a corner who relies on quickness and physicality, are always scary. He also lacks the long arms Dallas typically prefers in outside corners, but when it's late-stage free agency, those traits don't matter as much as production and availability. Still, that's a medical risk the team would have to feel good about before making any offer. Jack Jones is another name with eye-popping highs and frustrating lows. He made one of the highlight plays of the 2023 season with a pick 6 against the Chargers that basically buried Brandon Staley's coaching career, but he also struggled with consistency and character concerns. The Raiders gave up on him quickly, and while the upside is still there, it's hard to see how he fits into the Cowboys' locker room culture unless he's really matured. On the other hand, someone like Kendall Fuller could make a lot of sense. Experienced, versatile, able to play inside or outside, and although he's shown signs of decline, he still offers reliability that Dallas might need early in the year. Cornerbacks tend to fall off quickly once their speed goes. Fuller may already be in that zone, but even so, his knowledge and instincts could still be useful as a short-term patch. Just look at how long Terrence Newman lasted in the league after many thought he was done. Sometimes veterans surprise you. Cameron Sutton is another name worth watching, but his off-field issues, specifically a domestic violence incident that led to an 8-game suspension, and his release from the Lions, make him a far more complicated signing. The Cowboys have typically taken a cautious approach with players involved in those types of situations. So unless they're confident in his legal and behavioral status, it's hard to see that move happening. Lastly, James Bradberry rounds out the list. The former Pro Bowler didn't play at all in 2024 after suffering a torn Achilles last August. He's been a roller coaster player throughout his career. Great one year, a liability the next, and at his age, coming off a major injury, there are no guarantees. Still, if he can get healthy, he's another veteran who could give you 6-8 weeks of passable outside cornerback play until the rest of the unit gets back on track. Bottom line, this isn't about finding a star, it's about shoring up the floor. With all the uncertainty surrounding Diggs' return, Elam's bounce-back potential, and Redwell's ramp-up, it's entirely possible the Cowboys dip into this pool sooner than later. So tell us in the comments, who would you want Dallas to sign? Is it a reunion with Gilmore? A flyer on Jack Jones? A buy low swing on Asante Samuel Jr.? Let us know, because like it or not, this secondary still feels one injury away from being dangerously thin.